What wedding moment made you think they are not going to last long? Hey friends, could you do me a favor and take 2 seconds to like this video by giving it a big thumbs up? Also, consider clicking the red subscribe button down below if you'd like to see more videos. Thanks. As a wedding photographer, I have been to more than my share of weddings. 1. It was a real shotgun wedding. Dad didn't realize it would not stand up in court. Only time the groom was more excited to have photos than the bride. 2. She wanted a limo. He thought a hearse would be better and kept doing lurch impressions from the Addams family. 3. Her friends took turns motorboating her, females, and he said, "Get it out of your system as after tonight you never get to do that again," was a good sign. Also when she dove into the pool with her bridesmaids at the reception, in her wedding dress. 4. Don't know what happened. Sat down with bride and groom, filling out the contract, got the deposit. He stood up, said forget it, and walked out. 2 months later I get told the wedding is off. 3 months later she calls to rebook. Different groom. Day of the wedding. I am at the church. Got the final payment the week before. No one shows. No one. Just me and the DJ. Groom got into a fist fight with the father of the bride. Split after 4 months. Context: groom and bride's dad. Actually most people in these families, if I'm honest, have pretty aggressive drinking problems. Father-in-law has always hated him. I wasn't around for what actually set it off, but it ended when the bride got in the middle, got an elbow in the eye, and the happy couple left for the night. This was in rural Canada. Not Letterkenny, but basically Letterkenny. I'd say the father-in-law won the fight though. That's one long fight. They had a Dragon Ball Z battle. The entire bridal party, including parents of the wedded couple, entering into a betting pool of how long the marriage would last. At the wedding reception, if I recall correctly, the best man won. Price is Right rules, at 14 months. I was the best man at a wedding a few years back. At the rehearsal dinner, his future in-laws were treating him like crap. They were bossing him around, making him do crap, and talking down to him. They didn't let him hang out with his groomsmen afterwards, while the bride went out and got drunk. They are now divorced. Edit. To add a little detail, yes, he should have stood up for himself. His ex's parents were making him do crap for the wedding the next day, and he was too nice to say no. For you youngsters out there, this is cliche, but you really do marry the family, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, a lot of the times. When the maid of honor professed her love for my brother, during her toast at my brother's wedding, and her husband walked up to the head table, picked her up, and carried her away, before she could embarrass him further, they lasted about 3 months after that. My brother and his wife on the other hand are still happily married, 20 years later. Whoa, that's a bold strategy. I mean, hell of a time to shoot your shot, but maybe don't be married when you do it. The groom took the stupid cake thing to an extreme. The bride had given him his bite, and mushed a little on his chin or nose. He then took a piece and mashed it into her face, so hard that I was expecting her to end up with a bloody nose. Cake and frosting got up her nose, in her eyes, down the front of her dress, etc. The bride had to go get cleaned up, had her makeup redone, and was ugly crying within an hour of saying, "I do." He didn't give an F. The woman who made my wedding cake is a friend of the family, and when she was doing the consult with us, she told us that one condition that she had was that we had to have a conversation about serving each other cake. We could do whatever we wanted. We could not do it. We could serve each other nicely. We could dab it on our noses. We could do a face plant in the cake. It was our cake, but we had to agree on it together beforehand. We just cut the cake together, but didn't serve it to each other. Apparently, she had seen more than one marriage that got off to a rocky start, because the couple was not on the same page about cake, and it was very important to her that her cake would not be a source of conflict in our marriage. His third wedding, same venue and same after ceremony driving away vehicle as the first two. That is definitely a bad sign. Okay, look, maybe he had one of those stamp cards, and the 10th one will be free. We can't judge. I was at the wedding of one of my mum's oldest friends, and she clearly had more fun dancing with the best man after the wedding. Long story short, they dated for a while after the divorce. Your replacement is always closer than you think. I mean, he was the best man. The groom and best man had a dancing routine for getting into the church ceremony, and they got nearly halfway through it, and I guess the groom felt they hadn't received much applause and wows from us, the attendees, and decided to go back to the entrance and start all over. Sigh. Why is no one having a good time? I requested it. Captain Wunch, good to see you, but if you're here, who's guarding Hades? When the groom started off his speech by saying, "We all know I didn't want to get married, but we're here for bride and child we had together. 1 year and 3 months later, they were finished." That is so sad. It was awful. The entire room went silent and I felt horrible for her. She is my cousin and deserves so much better than that. The groom had a best woman instead of a best man. Nothing wrong with that, but her toast left the whole room in awkward silence, because she was clearly in love with him. One of the groomsmen and his wife, a groomsmaid, got into a heated argument after the rehearsal. He left, said his unit got called up, he's military. We accepted that, and went on with the wedding. Several weeks later, 2 of my bridesmaids, who were in the hotel room next to the couple, told me the argument was about how my husband should be marrying her, the groomsmaid, because groomsman wasn't supposed to come back from Iraq. We don't talk to them anymore and they are still married. Edit. They had the fight in their hotel room. Had an old boss who was divorced. He told me once, I should have known it wasn't going to last, when the only happy moment I had on my wedding day was when I snuck out to smoke weed with my buddies in the parking lot. 2 friends of mine got married, and when they gave their vows, the guy started laughing at the part about being faithful. Oops. When they disappeared for half an hour during the reception, they were both saving themselves for marriage, and were desperate to bone down, which is a fine thing to want, but it turns out that was more or less the main reason they got married. They made it almost a year. I was kindly included in a last-minute +1 to the wedding of a family friend, who I'd never met before. At the rehearsal dinner, or the German equivalent, the Polterabend, the guests smashed ceramic and porcelain items on the ground. I was fresh in Germany, so this was all pretty out of context and frightening, but my boyfriend explained that it's a tradition, reminding the couple that life is sometimes difficult and you have to work together to clean it up. The bride kind of half-heartedly motioned to the groom to sweep it up. He did a little bit, then just moved on to talk to his friends, leaving most of the shards strewn around the yard. Additionally, I don't think I saw the couple talk to each other once over the next 3 days of celebrations. It was a gorgeous wedding, and I'm so grateful that I was invited. Really good way to begin living in a new country, but it wasn't surprising to hear that they divorced a few years later. Oof, how symbolic. I was at a wedding when a phone went off during the ceremony, in the middle of exchanging vows. It was the groom's. He took the call. They are divorced now. Edit to add, I believe it was a cousin calling to ask if they were late for the wedding. That is so absurd. It's comical. Wedding photographer here. I can think of a few. Full-blown row during dinner. Had another couple fist fight during a first dance. An infamous one for me was leaving a venue late one night, and as I'm walking to the train, I can see the bride down an alley, on her knees with the best man. I was the wedding photographer for a reality TV show. End of the night, I'm having a few drinks with the film crew, and the groom has come up to me and one of the producers and says, I think I've made a big mistake. So we're trying to be reassuring and telling him it's natural to second guess such a big decision. To which he replies, no, I mean I think I'm gay. I had them both on Facebook. The drama the next week was mesmerizing to watch unfold. I've got a ton of these stories. The most beautiful wedding I've been to ended in divorce. Venue was where the groom's father is buried, and he cried as he made his vows to the bride there. Turned out, he'd been cheating on her for months, and they divorced a while later. Something so repugnant about marrying someone you're cheating on, practically over your father's grave. To date, it's the only wedding I've been to that ended in divorce.